Welcome everybody to From Legacy to Managed in 5 Easy Steps. My name is Sharon Shaw. I'm the President of Integrator Support. I'll be driving the discussion today and just want to thank you all again for your time. I know how valuable it is. So the fact that you all are spending this time with me today is very important to us, and we'll make sure to make it as efficient and valuable as possible. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you have any questions, there's a question and answer queue in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. I'd encourage you to ask any questions as they come to mind, and I'll field them at the end of the discussion. Now, I'm anticipating about 30 minutes of presentation today, and after that 30 minutes, we'll open up for Q&A. So we should certainly have you done here by the end of the hour, if not sooner. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and dive in and get started. So thank you all again. And if for some reason somebody from your team is unable to make it today and you'd like them to take advantage of this demonstration, they have access to it on our website, integratorsupport.com. We'll be hosting all of our recorded webinar sessions there under the Media tab, so you guys can reference that. Also, we did do a presentation earlier this week, so if you were unable to make that, you can reference that one on our website as well. So let's talk a little bit about why are we here today. The topic is From Legacy to Managed in 5 Easy Steps. And basically the reason why we came up with this topic was because we know that you have an extensive customer base. You have customers that have clear security issues or things that they're trying to manage in terms of life safety and security related risk. And we have some solutions now available to us that can enhance that existing protection and security that they have on site. So all of the customers that have video surveillance systems installed or access control systems installed or intrusion systems installed, there's a way of taking that existing system and cranking it up a notch and making it perform at a better rate and giving them more value out of their existing hardware. So that's where the word legacy comes from, is this is a lot of cases stuff that's already out in the field. And you might be surprised to hear that there are a lot of different devices that can be worked with. As long as it's a primary major brand, most of the video surveillance DVRs or NVRs or VMS platforms or even IP cameras directly we have connections to. So analog cameras plugging into a network DVR, in most cases we have some level of compatibility. So the idea here today is to talk about how can we take these existing relationships and offer these customers new solutions that enhance the value of what you've already provided to them in the source of hardware and security products, and maybe add a few things to make it that much more beneficial, but without having to recreate the wheel or completely dig up new customers to offer these new managed services to. So this program is specifically focused around how do I leverage my existing customer base and start generating some recurring monthly revenue through offering them managed services. So we've identified 5 steps within this process of selling managed services to existing customers. The first step is to inform them of these opportunities. If they don't know about it, they're not going to pick up the phone and ask you to come and give them a quote. Understanding their business needs. Because selling services or solutions are really more of like a consultative sale, which we talked about on Tuesday, the key is really understanding what their business needs are as it relates to security and operational efficiency. Identifying compatibility levels. How do you go about doing that? How do you know whether or not the DVR that's on site is something that we can work with? We're always here to help you. It's a really simple process. We have an integration matrix that you can reference, but this is part of the process as well. And then when you propose new solutions, how do you build that solution? How do you take the information that they gave you about their particular facility, about their concerns, knowing what they have on site in terms of technology, what they have available in terms of bandwidth, and then turning it into a solution that works for them. And then lastly, once you build that solution, how do you calculate their ROI? And how do you demonstrate the value proposition of what you have to offer? So the first thing we're looking at is informing them. The first step is to inform them that you now have a managed services offering that they need to be aware of. So what are the services? Specifically the ones that Integrator Support offers are hosted video, hosted access, managed access, video verification, and then the more interactive video monitoring and remote guarding level of services. So everything from the basic, affordable, I just want video surveillance on my iPhone, all the way up through I want somebody to monitor my cameras, to open up doors and gates for me if I forget my card, things like that. Now, all of these services are available to systems integrators through Integrator Support, and if you're interested in becoming a dealer and getting access to these services, just contact us. You can visit our website, and there's under the web forms, there's a button that says Become a Dealer. Get me your contact information, and then you can get access to all of the resources I'm about to show you here today. But aside from what the services are, how do you get the word out to them about what you have available? Email campaigns, fax blasts, phone calls. Something else that we've used in the past that works quite well is called a voicemail drop, where you go into a 1-800 number, you record a one-time recording of a script that we have available to you that takes about 30 seconds to read off, and it's automatically dumped into the voicemail box of your customer base. Site visits, so after you start getting the word out, going out and visiting them and showing them what they can do. Your website. Many cases we've heard that dealers don't have any kind of verbiage or any kind of information on their website about managed services. So we have a kit that you can take advantage of that has the images, the text, and the resources that you might want to link to that illustrate what managed services are, so you can just plug those into a new page on your website. And social media. And in most cases, social media is something where people have kind of dabbled in a little bit, but at the very least, and it's really easy, we create the content, and all we need to do is create that email campaign for you, and then simply shoot it out as a blog, shoot it out as a link, and you can repurpose the same material over and over and over again. So if they don't receive it in this one way, they'll receive it in a different way. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you a couple examples of our managed services dealer program, marketing program that you can take advantage of. And let me just zoom in so you can see a little bit better. We offer a 90-day dealer marketing program, and I'm going to tell you guys that all the stuff I'm showing you here today is free. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Basically, our business model is geared around your success. So as you become a dealer and you start selling services, we're successful once we receive a purchase order for those services. So until you start getting some traction and until this is proven, we don't make any money. We're not here to charge you a bunch of fees to give you marketing materials. This is a value proposition that we offer as a dealer where you don't have to recreate some of this material. But basically, there's a 90-day implementation program and a comprehensive marketing program that supports it. So each week, you need to touch your customer. Now, we don't want to blast them and send them something every single day, but each week you should be sending them something. And I just learned that you guys haven't been able to see my screen all this time, so I apologize for that, everybody. But here we go. Now you can see the marketing program. So you have phase 1 is month 1, phase 2 is month 2, and then phase 3 is month 3. And each week is a different topic and a different medium to get the message across. So the first thing we recommend is a press release introducing the new services that you have available. And then the next week, you would do some kind of an informative newsletter that talks about how video can be proactive. The third week, we can host a webinar that teaches your customers how to take full advantage of their security system. And it would be, we have options where it would be either completely generic, we won't talk about our brand or company whatsoever, and if you'd like, we can do it privately and then use your logo on the slides. Also shooting some videos and having why you should consider hosted security solutions. So all of these things are things that we have in the can that are available to you today. where you could go and implement this program. The first phase 1 implementation is going to begin on August 1st. So if you guys would like to get involved and have this messaging campaign go out to your customer base, we just need to have your logo from you in advance of that August 1st date. Also, this is a 90-day implementation program that we offer. So after we get your logo, get your team trained and everything like that, we want to make sure that before we implement any kind of program, and same for you guys, before you start communicating any kind of new service offering or anything else to your customer base, you guys need to be prepared to answer questions and to know what they're hearing and what they're seeing, so that way you have more information than they do. And what's really great about it as well is it gives you a purpose to call. It gives you a reason to pick up the phone and say, hey, Joe, did you receive this email yesterday? Because this is something really important that you should know about. And you can use our content as your talking points to make sure that you cover all the important topics for that conversation. So getting back to the presentation here, and this is a slide that you're probably seeing for the first time now, but that's an example of the marketing campaign. We have email blasts that we create on your behalf. All of this stuff is branded and completely focused on you and your company. The responding email address, the way it comes across, everything comes as if it's from you. And that's really important because your customer is your customer, not our customer. So the second step is understanding your customer's business needs. And how do you go about doing that? You know, the key is asking probing questions. So what questions do I need to ask when I'm trying to get the right information when I'm putting together a managed services solution? And we have what's called the 5 W's. We have a sales manual for you dealers out there that has step-by-step what questions you should ask. So I'm going to go back to that now. So in this sales manual, it has a checklist, and this is the process of selling solutions. And when you go through this checklist, every one of these items is here in this booklet for you to use. And you can just create a booklet for each prospect that you're dealing with. For the customer interview, the 5 W's are the questions that you should be asking just to get a really general perspective of what their needs are. Who do they consider to be a threat? What would you like to prevent? When is your property or your people at risk? Where in the facility are you most vulnerable? And why are you so concerned about this? And that question about why is probably going to be one of your most important questions, because this is where you start to really understand the implication of some sort of a security threat or breach and how it trickles down into their operations and their bottom line. And then similarly, how much is this activity costing you? You know, how can you measure that? And a lot of times people forget to factor in time and overhead in dealing with reporting to the authorities or handling certain issues internally after something's already been occurred and cleaning up that mess. So it's really key that you ask all these questions, and then you can quickly organize and write out all of your answers in one little section here. Then it gets into the site survey and understanding what's on site, what is important for me to know as I am going to be walking around this facility and figuring out exactly what's going on. So when you're trying to come up with your compatibility, which we'll talk about in the next step, but your compatibility to the existing technology on site, this is the data you need to gather. If there's cameras on site, what kind of cameras are they? What is the firmware version? If there's a DVR on site or an NVR or some other type of storage solution, find out what that software revision is or firmware version. Make sure you collect all of that data. Find out, too, on the video surveillance side, how much bandwidth they have available. Are they currently running analog systems, and then you're going to need some sort of a network connection established to get through the network if you're going to be doing video monitoring? Asking how much bandwidth they could dedicate is really important. Now, just so you guys know what that number needs to be, for adequate viewing purposes, you know, we don't see like full HD type resolution at the monitoring center. But for quality resolution where it's purposeful video and it can be used, we need about a half a meg up. So half a meg upload speed is what we're looking for there, which can typically be accomplished with any high-speed connection, or at the least a DSL connection is sometimes sufficient. So that's a key question to ask. And again, on that bandwidth note, is it dedicated bandwidth? Just making sure that they can really dedicate that amount to that system. Lighting conditions. How is the lighting? Is there an area on the premises that has zero light that we're going to need some artificial lighting in order to do our job well if we're monitoring the system at night? Is there any access control system on site? And is the perimeter protected? And asking that question or reviewing the site to see what kind of perimeter protection they have is really critical, because in most cases, the amount of activity that occurs at that particular facility is highly dependent upon the barriers of entry, right? So if you have a fenced-in perimeter and they're worried about whatever goods are being stored inside that fence, you have that fence line, and the only way somebody's going to end up in that area that you're monitoring is if they cut through or climb over that fence. So if they do that, we're going to get that alarm, and we're going to handle that and work on that situation for them, dispatch authorities, whatever the protocol is. But if there's no fence, if it's an outdoor mall setting where you have people roaming around, some of them welcome, they're just window shopping on a date late at night, or some of them might be transients and they're sleeping on the park bench. How do you handle those types of activity? And also the question becomes how much activity to expect. So get the simple question answered of, is the perimeter protected, or is it more of a public or easily accessed facility? And then the next phase is the needs assessment. And this is where you go through and identify how to build the solution for your customer. Which service is really what they need. So I'm going to skip back to my slide here for a second, because you can see that I put in quotes here, ideal solution needs assessment. And what we mean by that is if your customer could define what their ideal solution was, that's what we want to try to provide, or as close to it as possible. Let them define the need, and then you go back and figure out how to work on that. So in that needs assessment, that's a little checklist that shows you what types of offerings offer what feature sets. So if they say, I need to have mobile access to my video 24/7. I need to be able to use my mobile device to access the facility and see what's going on at any given time. Or I need a program where I can manage my access control database from anywhere. I don't want to have to set up a Citrix server or VPN or something like that anytime I want to go in and modify or make a report or do some kind of a change to the access control system. Finding out what their pains are, and if we could solve those pains, what would that solution look like, is one of the keys to really giving them the value that they're looking for. Then you get into the application brochures. I'm going to go back to the sales manual to show you what this is. For each, I guess you could say, market that we serve, we have identified a few key true applications that are well suited for managed services. So in the area of like remote video monitoring, whether it's video verification or the interactive version of video monitoring, outdoor assets are a key application for us. Anytime there's something of value stored outdoors where there's not somebody there constantly, to monitor what's going on, that is really a great application for this opportunity. So we have a specific brochure that talks about protecting outdoor assets. The next one is property management. And property management firms are very concerned about what their facility managers' time is being spent doing. Are they really improving the facility, providing high-level customer service to their tenants? what could they be doing to maybe maximize the value of that facility and improve the facility. And the time that they spend running around adding and deleting users on behalf of their tenants from an access control standpoint is something they hate to do. And hosted access control system allows them to have that mobility and do it from anywhere. But then taking it another step and offering them managed access control is what you can do so you manage it for them. You take that headache completely off the table. You handle it, and all they do is focus on their property, making their property and their people as good as they possibly can. And then we have a couple more brochures that you can leverage that talk about the benefits of hosted and managed access sort of in general and how it compares to the traditional on-site model, and the same for hosted video. So they can see line drawings, understand a little bit more about how it works, and they can see how they can take advantage the further they go from the hosted to the managed solution, how much more value they get out of that system. So back to the slides and sort of the topic here is moving away from selling product and proposing solutions, service-based solutions. And so going to them and saying, well, this is what we installed for you 2 years ago. And we have this level of compatibility with your DVR. So based on that, we could do motion-based monitoring on these cameras. We could provide tours. We can do voice-down announcements by adding a simple voice-over IP box. That's when you start getting into the solution on how they're actually going to use it. But it's really important that you get away from selling the product that the solution is based off of. I mean, obviously, there are cases where video analytics, which we'll get to in just a moment, are a critical element to the system based upon the ideal solution that they're looking for. Video analytics might just be that answer. But if they see just the video analytic camera or device and they think, well, that's exactly what I need, I'll just monitor it myself. They start seeing how they can use it. Now, in most cases, if you talk to any of the video analytic manufacturers, most cases, these systems, if they start to be a self-monitored solution, they end up being a professionally monitored solution because they very quickly realize that every dinner date gets interrupted because an event occurs. And then if an event does occur, even if they're fully focused on what's going on, in most cases the people that are trying to handle those alarms don't necessarily know what to do with them. They don't know how to talk to the authorities and be as efficient as possible while looking to see what's happening in real time at the site. And that's really where the professional level of monitoring comes into play. And you've got to just propose the solution. It's got to be that the solution is the service. And the product that allows us to provide the service is just a means to the end. It's just a tool. But the tool itself doesn't build the house. Okay? Then closing with, okay, so we've gone through the site survey. We've asked them the questions. You've gotten the information. You know what their ideal solution looks like. And you've shown them some basic brochures that say this is in general the types of things that we can provide to you. But now that I know more about your situation and your needs, allow me to take a couple of days to figure out how we can take your existing system and bring it to a whole new level. And, it can be with a minimal investment. That's the other thing. I think a lot of people hear about these services, and they assume it's expensive. They assume it's expensive. Or they think about how they've already got a guard or somebody acting as a security presence on site, and they're thinking this is in addition to that, another cost. And so it's key that you also manage their expectation that these services are affordable. And they can get their ROI back very quickly by employing these services, whether it's by eliminating one shift of their guard staff and replacing that with a virtual security solution, or if it's the fact that they haven't had any kind of monitoring at their facility and people keep ripping them off and stealing their inventory, Or it could be that they've had some level of like intrusion, maybe some beams or something outside that are being monitored, but they're getting false alarm signals all the time, and now they're getting fined because the police keep getting dispatched unnecessarily. So these are the types of things that you need to consider as you're talking to them. And before you start building the solution, here's the key. And you know, I really blame the industry for not doing a very good job defining the difference between hosted and managed services. And maybe I'm just trying to oversimplify it, but to me, they're very different. A hosted service is when you take an appliance and you host it somewhere else. You know, you've got a piece of software, and instead of it being on site, it's in a data center somewhere. That's hosting. If you have managed service, that means that you're not just hosting the access control system, but you are managing that database. You are doing reports for them. You are monitoring those alarms for door forced open and propped open. And that's really where, you know, understanding your customer, and if they are capable, if they're a large size entity and they are capable and they want to handle their own alarms, that person that says, I just need mobile video, I just need video on my iPhone wherever I go, and you think that they are capable of handling those alarms, then you show them the hosted solution, and that's the solution they go with. If it's somebody, though, that doesn't have the wherewithal to handle those alarms, that's when you go into, and this is how we can do this for you. And so you've got to define, are you going to go in with hosted, or are you going to go in with managed? And I would say that, you know, for you guys, you'll be able to get a feel based on your customer relationship, you know, where those particular customers stand. So now you're looking at, how do I determine the legacy compatibility of the system that's on site? So again, you've gathered all the information about the technology. You know how much bandwidth is available or dedicated. And if they don't have any at that time, you tell them what your needs would be in order to stream video off-site. Also determine the competency level of their IT staff, their facility manager or security personnel or decision maker, and understand what matters most to them, so that way you can make sure that as you're proposing these solutions that it fits their team, not just the facility itself. Evaluate your site environment. We talked about all of that. So now you get into building the solution. So how do I know what services or what products to add on if an add-on is necessary? Or if this is a greenfield opportunity, maybe this is a customer I've had and they're building a new facility and I want to lead with a new offering like this. How do I know what product I should go with? And these are just some, you know, that I'm sure you're familiar with, that we've had some great experience with. So for video verification and motion detection, if what they're looking for is a simple, I'm going to manage, sorry, at the very top line it says hosted services with end user management. I'm the customer that's capable of handling my own security system. Okay, they're looking for a way of getting some sort of verification. There is now a solution where they can monitor their own VideoFi system. It's called WebEye. It's a UK-based company. They have basically a piece of software that handles all of the RSI technology or VideoFi products out there. And your customer can take SMS text messages along with video clips sent to them automatically on their phone to acknowledge and view alarm event-based video clips. If they're also looking for just that mobile, but they want maybe live video, that's where you can quote the Axis Video Hosted System. So any Axis camera or encoder that's been built in the last couple of years is what they call AVHS compatible. And AVHS is a service that we provide through a company called Secure-Eye. And basically it's hosted video that starts as either just mobile access to the video or it is off-site storage of that video. Hosted access control. We have a great partnership now with Brivo, which you'll be seeing here announced in the trades very soon. And they are a SaaS, a true SaaS provider. They know exactly, you know, how to manage things from a software as a service standpoint, multiple data centers throughout the country, things like that. Very reputable service. If you're going in with managed services, meaning that you think they need a professional to handle this for them, you go in with the video verification. You can still do video FIDE, and the WebEye, maybe they're the first to be notified of the WebEye or the video FIDE solution. They get first alert, but if the end user doesn't respond within so many seconds, it can get transferred over to a monitoring center. Axis is also compatible with our monitoring centers. So if they start off maybe with just the mobile video and realize they'd like someone else to help them monitor, you can upsell that way. Existing hardware, because of the level of compatibility we have, just call us 24/7, 365. Let us know what product you're working with, what firmware version you have on site, and we'll help you identify whether or not we can work with what's there. And if we can't, what would need to be done to get it ready. If they need the interactive video monitoring or remote guarding services, where it's not just verification of what happened on site, but they want somebody to continue monitoring that system throughout the duration of any kind of alarm event, maybe doing some voice-down announcements to intervene in real time, then you could use, again, the existing hardware in many cases, adding video analytics through either VidioIQ or Check Video, and adding digital acoustics or electronic access control systems. So I've broken this down into basic and advanced models. So then you can kind of understand, are they kind of a basic customer, are they an advanced customer? And just lead in with one solution, whether it's basic or advanced, just lead in with one. If they feel that they'd rather have you manage the access control system, or if you think that this is a scenario where that is the most efficient way of providing the service, then you can manage Brivo on behalf of your customer. Also, AMAC has a system that G4S, our monitoring center partner, hosts up in their monitoring and data center. So you can have the full version of AMAG Professional Symmetry running in a virtual environment, and you can leverage the G4S monitoring staff to handle any kind of administrative changes or reporting with their access control system. All of these products, I should say, are available through PSA. So the way this works is if you go through us and leverage the dealer program and decide you want to use our host of services, you can access all of the products I just mentioned through buypsa.com. And when you go in to propose these new solutions, the key is to manage their expectation. And I talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, so sorry for this being redundant for anyone who was there on Tuesday. But make sure that they understand that they're going to be receiving a quote for an ongoing service. And the key difference here when you're selling services, especially to an existing customer that's used to hearing from you once a year if they need a maintenance issue resolved or something like that, is showing them that you're in it to partner with them. You're in it because now you're going to be there. Whenever they have an issue, it's your issue. Whenever they have some sort of a security crisis going on site, you're there. You're providing the monitoring. You're going to be with them in step all the time. And so it's important that they understand how that ongoing level of service and commitment relates to an ongoing fee on a monthly basis. Again, lead with the service. Don't bring in the manufacturers for the hardware, because they'll start thinking that the service is an add-on. They'll start thinking that, well, I can just take this piece of hardware and what I can do with it. And they don't necessarily know how much work it is to actually monitor and manage those systems on their own. So you need to lead with the service, and that's the solution. And you need to do a very simple presentation with one monthly payment. So if you are determining that, okay, their DVR is still out of date and it's not compatible, say worst case scenario, they've got analog cameras and a DVR that we can't work with. So maybe you look at adding either the Check Video or the VidioIQ appliance or encoders onto that system to add analytics, give it the integration that we need to be able to monitor those cameras. So when you're doing that, just be sure to include it in the monthly payment. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys quickly the price book. And I know I'm kind of going over what I promised for the 30 minutes presentation, but I want you all to see this. So this is the price book that we use for all of our services, and this is something that you can have access to. Anything in orange is something that you would go in and enter to figure out what your pricing is. So if your customer is looking for just hosted video and they just want live video, they don't necessarily want storage off-site, they just want to be able to pull live video, you just enter in the number of cameras, and it tells you what your price is. And then you can mark it up accordingly. If they do want storage, you select your subscription rate, your frame rate and resolution, and it calculates your amount. Hosted access, same thing. It's all pretty straightforward. Okay, when you get into managed, this is where you're talking about like event-based video monitoring. So if you're doing the interactive video monitoring or the like remote guarding type services, you use this event package estimator. So we don't publish our subscriber pricing, but this just kind of gives you a feel for the ballpark of what the customer should expect for that level of service. And these are your costs here. If you ever feel that your customer is not going to anticipate that base level of 50 events per month, or if you think that there's more potential with that project, or if it's a large size project and you want to negotiate, call us. Don't take our pricing and say, oh, they're not competitive, we can't work with them. Call us, we'll work with you, we'll figure out a right way. But this has been a successful model for us so far. You enter in the number of events, or the number of devices you're using to trigger events. You enter in the number of tours, if any, that you're going to provide for that site, and any ad hoc services, like if you think that they're going to leverage the virtual doorman service or request a virtual chaperone or some other, just kind of random, not always consistent type offering, you add that in here. And what happens is you get an estimate for how many events you might expect at that site. So let's just use a quick example. If we have 6 cameras that are using analytics to trigger events, say I'm not doing any tours, I'm going to get anywhere from 30 to 90 events for a system of that size. And what's the key difference? Why do we have this range? Because of that perimeter protection that we talked about earlier. If the perimeter is protected, you should anticipate a lower number of events. If that perimeter is unprotected, you should anticipate a higher number of events. So if you use this estimator and you go in with package B because it said 90 on the high side, and you end up getting 110 events instead of 100, we guarantee this estimator. So unless what you plug in here is inaccurate, we'll stand behind this pricing, so there won't be surprises going forward. You plug in your number of sites at what package. If you're doing any intrusion monitoring or video-fied basic video verification, we run that through MACE, and you can calculate your pricing here. And then you get your proposal total. And what happens is it calculates any of your costs and plugs them in here. And this allows you to go in and enter what you plan to charge your customer. So you're going to pull your hardware pricing from buypsa.com. You're going to get your total labor costs from whatever typical estimator you use. We're not pretending to be a suite specialized in estimating packages. That's not what we do. But what this tool is designed to do is simplify that process of getting to that single monthly payment figure. So you plug in your typical cost here. So I'll just put in, let's just say $25,000 for hardware costs. And sorry, this is not big enough. Enter in the special password. Now I can make it so you can see. Okay, so it's $25,000. You're going to see what your monthly is coming to be. Maybe you're going to mark this up to $50 a month. You're going to mark this up to, let's just say $325, and maybe this is going to be $125. If you're going to add any kind of a maintenance contract, how much is that going to be per month? I'll just put in $100. And so now you can see down here, my grand total monthly payment so far is going to be the $500 for the gross hosted and managed services, plus whatever the monthly fee is if you use project financing. And what you'll want to do with project financing is get to a monthly number. So anything that you're adding on, if you're adding on video IQ cameras, if you're adding on digital acoustics for voice over IP with a speaker and an amp so we can do voice down, if you're adding on additional doors or something like that, all you need to do is plug in what that finance number is. No, I hate these new ads that are coming up. Enter in the basic information. $25,000 is the number we're playing with here. And it'll tell you, based on a 36-month or 60-month term, how much that monthly payment should be. So let's just go with 36 months, $810.50. Then all you need to do to enter that is $810.50. And now you know what you're going to quote your customer at the bottom here. You can give them all these options, but we recommend just go with one. And that was actually 36 months. Just go with one and make it simple. So now you can go back to your customer and you can say, I am going to add 6 video IQ cameras. I am going to monitor your system, anticipating 100 events. And I am going to maintain your system. And it's going to cost you $1,300 per month for the next 3 years. And now they can budget for their security for this year, next year, the year after that, and there's no upfront capital outlay that they have to be exposed to. So it reduces that pain of them investing in the first place. And the last piece is once you find out what it was that you're going to charge them, you need to calculate the return on investment. So to calculate the return on investment, it's key that you take into consideration some of these key variables. So what are some of the hidden costs of their on-site system, if they have an on-site system that you're trying to get over to hosted, managing and maintaining that server, purchasing software licenses, maintaining and managing either a web server or Citrix client to allow for remote access, the power consumption, the space and the real estate, the ongoing upgrades and the labor incorporated with that, and the pain of managing it themselves versus a hosted version, which you can see alleviates all of that. And similarly from the in-house to managed. So if they're going from, having a CCTV system that's just recording things from happening today, so they got broken into, and all it did is it recorded what happened, and now they've got to go back and find out, where that video is that shot what happened, and hope that it's good enough to identify the people that did what they did. They have to manage the, police report. They have to figure out a way to package the video clips. It's expensive. Not to mention that they've probably incurred that loss already of whatever lost inventory or property damage that arise because of that event. So you have to identify all of their costs associated with doing things the traditional way. And then you can go in and explain how this $1,800 per month is going to change their entire security system, or in their solution rather, and make it so that they're more efficient, it's more affordable, and it's more proactive and effective. So that really concludes what I wanted to talk to you all about today. So in summary, the 5 steps are informing your customer of these new managed services that are available, and you can do that leveraging a marketing program we have available to you. It is going through and identifying their needs, and you do that by doing a site survey, figuring out what they have available, figuring out what resources are available, what level of expertise they have on site, what they need, what solutions, or what problems they have that you need to solve. And then you go back and you build the solution based on those problems, and you answer their exact questions that they gave you during that interview process. And then you provide them with one single monthly payment quote that says, we're going to take all of this off your plate. We're going to simplify this, improve that, make this more proactive, and it's going to just cost you this much per month. And then you go through the process of saying, now, if we don't do this, what else are you going to incur? how many more break-ins is it going to take for you to make this decision? And how much is that going to cost you before you realize that $1,800 per month really isn't that much? So this is just, a simple example, but I want you all to feel like you can call us at any time. We can help you. We've seen what, proposals that have worked and the ones that haven't. We know kind of what type of customer, you might want to propose just hosted versus managed. And similarly with the compatibility, we are here to support you guys. So now I'd just like to open it up for any questions that you guys have at this time, and feel free to, ask away. Just type in any questions. And I saw a few come in, so just bear with me for a second while I pull up the ones that I received. Okay, this is a good question. How do I handle the difference between my account managers who first sold this project and a new salesperson offering managed services to these existing customers? Boy, that's a big question. So again, the question is, how do I handle my account managers who really brought these customers to the table, and having somebody else now focused on managed services selling to those existing customers? I think as far as that's concerned, there's got to be a way, of sharing some of that commission, doing something that shows that account manager that, yes, they brought them to the table. But here's something really important that you guys need to remember, is that if you don't offer these services and solutions to your customers, somebody else will. Somebody else will. Either it'll be ADT, or it'll be Stanley, or it'll be somebody else, a telco, Comcast, that's going to come in and say, well, we can offer you this, this, and this. Simplify it. Go with us. And you're going to lose not only any potential of managed services, but all of their future business. So don't risk losing your existing clients and customers because you're not willing to offer them these new services and solutions. That's a tricky one. But I would recommend to you owners out there or sales managers who are in charge of handling that process, to try to find, a commission structure that's fair to everybody. And we have some models that you could use as a reference point. But it's really important that your sales team who first won that client is involved and knows what's going on and is welcoming these new opportunities, because it will generate more business for your company and it will generate your recurring revenue. But at the end of the day, it's all about customer satisfaction. And in order for their job and as an account manager or the job of the person that you just hired to sell services to be successful, you've got to keep your customers happy and you need to keep them as your customers. So not doing anything right now is probably the biggest mistake that you guys can make. Is there a typical commission structure for selling managed services is the next question. Yes, there is, because this isn't new, right? If you look at like the burglar alarm business, there's a pretty typical commission structure, and it's usually scaled by how long that contract is in place for. And so you've got to manage your risk. As a company owner, you have to manage your risk. So there's a few different models that we recommend where it's either an upfront bonus for that person that needs that instant gratification of that sale, and that upfront bonus needs to be based upon the length of that contract. So if it's a 12-month contract, 1 month's recurring revenue. If it's a 24-month contract, give them 2 months of the recurring revenue rate. If it's a 3-year contract, give them 3 months. These are just a few examples, but you scale it based upon the length of that contract, so that way you're not paying out too much up front in anticipation of the collection on the back end. But that contract is valuable, so it's important that you incentivize people to build your business that way. On the other side, if you're looking for maybe a goal type model, you can set a goal. And you can say, once you reach this goal, you receive X% of the gross profit margin on your sales. And maybe that percentage of the gross margin changes based on either the volume or the length of the contracts that they receive. So there are some different factors that you're going to want to consider as you build it, and that's an area that we can help you with. And if we don't have all the answers, we have some consultants that we work with that we'd be happy to refer you to. Oh, excellent question. So this person may have come on a little bit late. Is there a cost associated with using the marketing program? No, there's no cost. Again, with the marketing program, leveraging our sales manual materials or any of the other types of dealer program solutions that we have for you guys. We're really passionate about this. Our name is Integrator Support, and we're called that for a reason, because our goal is to support you guys as you go out and start generating this type of business. And the only way we're successful is when we actually win business together. Okay, so we're not a marketing company, we're not a training company, but we have the marketing and we have the training available for you guys to take advantage of. And the key there is simply to use it, because we believe that if you use these programs and you take advantage of us helping you reach your customer base, and you take advantage of the webinar programs to keep you informed of what's going on and things like what you're doing today, that you will be successful. And so this is our upfront investment in your success. So all that we ask is that once you start generating your business, channel it through us, and I assure you that your prices through Integrator Support will be highly competitive, meaning that you won't be able to get a better deal by going to any of our service providers directly. So you can get as good, if not a better deal, going through Integrator Support to get your remote video monitoring, to get your hosted access. We will be your partner continuously, just like you're going to become your partner for your customers. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end it today. I think there are a couple more questions that I didn't have a chance to get to, but we will record this session, like I said before, and send it out to you as a link so you guys can all follow up after the fact. And if you have any questions, please do call us. We're available anytime, and visit our website for more information, which is integratorsupport.com. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.